Hello everybody and welcome to episode 3 or week 2 of Let's Race with Cohen and iRacing. This week I'm going to change things up a little bit. I'm going to break the practice and qualifying down into more segmented parts than just here's me doing some laps. You can see I did a little intro screen here thanks to some suggestions from the iRacing Reddit. And here we go into a tour of Sebring International Raceway. This will be a lap early on, very early in me practicing here. It's a track that I'm not very familiar with, and again, I'm still pretty new with the car as well. I'm going to come through turn 1 here, which is extremely bumpy coming off the runway, into dogleg, and into a set of S-like turns that are very bumpy, very slow, and curbs that are virtually unusable. This turn / straightaway through here leads you to the first and hardest braking zone on the track, and later on I'm going to figure out that I need to be braking earlier than that even, so it's a very hard braking zone. Then back up almost full speed through here. Again, straightaway / S's. Down to second gear again. Right hander a little bit more open. This turn here out of this I found very tricky. It doesn't look like much, but it's just got enough angle to it that it'll screw you up coming into here. Another fast couple of turns before another hard braking zone. Not quite as hard. This is sort of an S section here, and you can see I actually went off track there, as I did often while learning the track. Once again, back up to, I think, 6th gear here. Where you enter the runway portion of the track, which this final turn is extremely bumpy, extremely difficult to get back on the gas. Taking you down the front straight. That leads us to where we started, turn 1. That real bumpy, kind of on and off the gas kind of turn. Just trying to keep the car planted, as I failed to do here. So this footage is from later on in practice, a couple hours later. What I'm going to do here is break down some of the important parts of the track, or parts of the track that I found time. And first up here is going to be in turn 1. Entering this turn, I'm entering wide, but I'm not braking super sharply or hard. I'm just getting down to 3rd gear and I'm coasting through the turn, using the throttle to just get the car over the bumps without getting upset. So see, down in 3rd gear here, and letting it coast all the way through the concrete, and then you can get right back to the gas. Next up's going to be this real hard braking zone. And as I said earlier, I figured out that backing up this turn helps a lot. I'm braking as soon as I hit the 3-cone marker, and I'm going to go down all the way to 1st gear. Even though it seems a little slow mid-turn, it gives you this great launch out of here that really makes up a lot of time. Okay, the final breakdown I'm going to do here is through turns 15 and 16. I'm going to enter in 3rd gear and try my hardest to get the right tires on the curb at mid-apex. May not make it here, but it's all about keeping the momentum very smooth. You want to have a nice wide arc through here so that you can get on the gas way before you get to the curbing. Because if you push real hard into that turn, you're going to be getting on the gas as soon as you hit the curb, and it's going to ruin all your momentum coming down the straight. Alrighty, here we are in qualifying. Right off the bat here, I'm going to do some small changes to the setup. I'm going to just drop the fuel down to give me about 5 laps of fuel. I'm going to go with 4 gallons. And if you look there, I found a Daytona setup because Daytona is a slick track and it's kind of bumpy. I thought it would be similar, but I ended up doing quite a bit of changes to it to give it more downforce and a little bit softer suspension to get over these bumps. So right off the bat in this session, I'm not going to show much of that footage because it was very choppy. I didn't get many clean laps in at all. You can see with the relative timing over there that there's a lot of cars on track. And what I found was that for some reason this qualifying session attracted a lot of the Division 1 guys, and what that means is that they are fast. They were running times in the 2-minute flat or even the 1:59 range. So I kept having them fly up behind me and I'd have to abort my lap to give them a clean run, or even one time I went offline to give somebody room, and by the time I entered the track there was already somebody coming up behind me and I ended up screwing up his lap. So it took me a good 10 minutes to find a nice opening in the track. So we'll go ahead and cut to that now. Okay, so here we go, starting the first of my good clean laps. Coming down here into turn 1. This is one of the better turn 1s I've had. You can see I'm just kind of keeping it near the yellow line, but I'm floating it through and kind of eggshelling the gas all the way through there. Part throttle all the way through there, just a second and full throttle. Keeping off of these curbs because they will ruin a lap in a heartbeat. Settled into a pretty good little group here. You can see that the people around me are at least vaguely in the same kind of time range as me. I'm still going all the way down to first gear there. Getting back on the throttle, and it gives me a good launch up through here. And coming off of here, down these real fast S's, I'm going to start braking a little earlier and floating this turn as well. Second gear, nice. Early apex, but smooth out of there. I'm going to go just part throttle through here because you can see that the back end really wants to come around there. But it gives me a better entry into this turn, which lets me arc this turn. And you can see it's evident that there's a lot of time to be picked up there. Nice smooth run through here. Pretty similar to what I showed you earlier. Wide entry, hit this curb, and then you can just flat-foot it out of here. Braking much later through here, but coming down to a pretty slow apex so that I can get a nice launch out. That was not one of the better efforts there, but it was clean enough to get me into that 203 range, which is the first time I had hit a 203 in practice or qualifying. But I had run out of fuel at that point, so I'm going to look at this and be discouraged by the fact that great lap put me in 10th place. Okay, so here we go on another hot lap. I am following somebody, but he's got a lot more speed than I do, so I wasn't overly worried about catching him. A bit wider entry through here, but I get on the gas sooner, and you can see it get over the bumps, and it's really wild through there. Still a little loose through there, but just kind of modulating the throttle to keep it going straight. You can hear the force feedback in the steering wheel, the bumps and the braking through there. It's treacherous to try and keep it going straight. keep it under control. Sets me up again for a great smooth turn there to give me that run down what I would consider the backstretch here. See, I kind of got on the gas a little too soon right there and pushed wide. Cost me what would have been a much better lap. Pretty aggressive through here, trying to make up time, but ended up pushing wide again. But it was still good enough for knocking a couple tenths off of my best time. So I do have one lap left in time in the session. Let's see, there's a checkered flag there, so that means that this would be final attempt. But I did my big no-no and got on the curbs there and off track, which invalidates the time, so I just kind of called it there. Okay, so that wraps up practice and qualifying for this week. If you like the new format, let me know. If you have any more suggestions, let me know. Here come the results, which you'll see 10th out of the session, but that's kind of irrelevant towards what I'm going for. Just kind of in the building experience mode right now. This whole season's going to be kind of in that tune, but for the next season, which will follow the schedules of iRacing, next season is when I plan to focus on really choosing one series and trying to win races or win a championship or stuff like that. So for this first one's going to be a lot more experimentation and learning than anything. But thanks for watching. I appreciate the feedback that I got last episode. Hopefully, again, you like the changes, and I do have some changes for how I'm going to do the race episode as well. But until then, I'll see you next time.